Yo, it's your favorite N-word. And in this video, I'm going to explain a couple of folklore pieces so you can understand the way of life in the Crimson Collective, so to speak. And this one is going to revolve around Crunch and his crew. Crunch started adventuring with his parents when he was 5, but they got halted rather quickly because his parents were so in love that his sister was conceived on his first venture into Edgemere. Long story short, his impatience with wanting to be out in the streets, metropolis, prairies, floating lands, airships, space colonies, and highways was growing painful. Because his father is a gentleman, he quenched his thirst with taking him back to Edgemere to finish the road trip. At that time, his father made it so that he was introduced to other kids from his usual super being group and others, so that he can see kids of various superpowers to be and what the air feels, tastes, and smells like in the God dimension. It anchored his beliefs of continuously seeing the world until there's nothing left. Throughout that road trip, his father taught him about sacrifice, specifically the kind where you have to leave loved ones behind for another loved one, while teaching him not to be so self-centered and selfish. Throughout that lesson, it led him down a path of providing for a community. He got to see how villages treat their folks, cities, queendoms, and kingdoms treat their folks. He wanted to do the same. He wanted to be a protector of the ones that want to see the worlds. From a young age, he learned about giving, receiving, leading, welcoming, judging, accepting, and forwarding. Over the years, he recognized that in people he met. In school, he would do reports on the super beings of the history books, the not so well-known kinds to the well-known kinds of the 1000 watch list. From the one-man army ones to the helpers, sidekicks, and shadows, cause he deemed every last one of them important, even the villains. Now in short, he masterminded the perfect examples of roles for the future, so when it was time to run his spaceship colony, he would have it all eventually. For the 12 individuals following, only one of them was a gift from the universe. For the population of his ship, he deems them as blessings from the universe. The gift helps to protect the blessings. Alright, moving along to the characters of Crunch's crew. First of the Chill Round Table, Dr. Drip met Crunch when he was 20. Of African-Irish descent, he's a super being with dreams of being an endologist, biologist, and aerologist. And if you don't know, endologist is the study of monsters, and aerologist is the study of superpowers. By the time he was 19, he had a genius PhD in endology. Crunch met him when he was 20. It was a perfect situation because Dr. Drip was in school for biology, and Crunch had just accepted Odin as a symbiote. Great shadowing experience for him as he was connected to the doctor that got assigned the fringe case of Crunch and Odin. Like always, Crunch was in his usual joyful mood of talking to strangers so they wouldn't be strange anymore. But when he shook Dr. Drip's hand, it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Crunch talked to him the most because they were the only 20-year-olds in the lab. Crunch offered him the head of the fringe department position, deeming that a crew near his age will be best for the first generation of the Chill Voyager. Dr. Drip didn't decline the offer because of what Crunch stood for, how he made him feel in the monies. Said the sign-on bonus was enough to live a life on a spaceship that was deemed by the public already a 5-star resort. Don't ask. I will end each character description with the title, and his are Head of Fringe, Galactic Class Endologist, Biologist, and Aerologist. Second of the Chill Roundtable, Cole Quadre, 20 years of age. Of Nubian Dutch descent, he is a super being who devoted his life to being a hero of firearms. Can lob lead, X energy, plasma, or ray energy as high as any historian in this field. Pristine eyes he has, arms made of gold, shoulders made of 2 suns, and a strong body that could dust boulders. Because of Crunch's contract with the Superhero Guild, they will send any candidates of his dream positions they see fit. But Crunch had a bunch of old heads on his crew, so unless they were old in spirit, they would just be placed on lesser crew orders. Cole was not one of those. They worked together back when they were 14. They weren't in each other's usual circles. They migrated in different directions to power. But they do remember their 14th year in life and their big climax of that year, because they helped save a few worlds together that summer in life. Because Cole kept it Omega level, Crunch took him. He will be the head of operations, galactic class gunman, and strategist. Third of the Chill Roundtable, Xalshe, 20 years of age, of Puerto Rican descent. She is a super being spellbinder home of the Nightmare Coven. Prosperous coven who loves their brand of heroism and keeping the general public a safe place of celebration. The day before the 2-year anniversary of the Wish of Power World Forces, they crossed paths. She was texting someone on her phone in front of a Latino bakery. When she was done, she turned around to open the door and bumped into Crunch, who was just about to turn around from being distracted. She knew who it was. She asked him for a gig. He asked her specialty. Xalshe said, "Like an octopus, I had that many ways of taking anything to the shadows. I will detain it, cherish it, or ultimate it. Either way, my swords turns into guns if anyone tries taking anything from me." He wanted proof. He got it. And she got the adventures she has always wanted. She will be the head of magic. And her 4 categories are octopus, shadow, matter, and sword. And she's a headdress of the Nightmare Coven and a galactic class sanctuary black mage. Fourth of the Chill Roundtable, Luke Ricci, 22. Of Lebanese descent, he is a super being spellbinder home to the Gilded Jinx. More trouble than prosper, but still has a high net worth through the Super Warrior Guild. They were sad to see him go when he found a perfect pirate crew and was allowed to be a part of it. These two met young, but Luke said something to Crunch when they were chilling at a bar on a pier. Randomly being at the same place at the same time, but Crunch could smell the sea on him. So he asked him a few questions, but it was the answer that was given to him that awarded Luke his golden ticket. What does it feel like living everywhere? He simply answered with, home. Crunch was interested from then on, but Luke showed him what seeing in the future looks like, and who doesn't want a premonitionist on their crew. Job title is Head of Customs. The 4 categories of his spellbinding are Vision, Psychic, Poison, and Golem. High Warlock of the Gilded Jinx and Galactic Class 1-man Army Green Mage. Fifth of the Chill Roundtable, Yamari al Atift, 24. Of Arabian British descent, she is a super being of high intellect and uses it to mold minds of the youth. She grew up always wanting to pass knowledge on to the next generation because humanity has done it splendidly since the 21st century. Remember, the story is taking place in 8124. She specializes in teaching languages. She can also teach writing scholastically, literarily, corporately, and imaginatively with ease. The Superhero Guild requested Crunch as an audience member to 2 people they figured had a higher chance of gaining residency as a lead on his crew. Their resumes spoke for themselves, but Yamari's ideal life image revolved around passing around good and wishful thinking to as many minds as possible, and the direct approach is by giving as much of the youth hugs. Crunch thought that was the warmest thing he has ever heard, and can't wait to implement an educational system way ahead of his projection year. Her job title is Head of Education, Linguistics Teacher, Saudi, English, Spanish, Cantonese, Mandarin, French, Portuguese, German, Latin, Africans, Japanese, and Inuit, all tribes. Sixth of the Chill Roundtable, Chunro, 24. Of Malaysian descent, he is a super being of high intellect and uses it to be the tech guy of superhero leagues. He was shadowing a higher up in a league that was about to disband when Crunch was awarded his counsel. Because the retiring of another hero group, they allowed the next generation to get first-hand experience with the top level of the boards. Because of his brash, shit-talking, and always adventurously brave persona, they figured he would mesh with Crunch perfectly, so Crunch can finally have his own tech guy. They were right. These two with their C code names aren't cunty at all, but they sure are cutty. Will cut a whole room up. Ship gained a lot more laughter when him and the other were hired as head positions on his crew. Job title is Head of Technology. He's a sicko class Gundam pilot, IT Deep Tech, IT Super Beam Tech, and Galactic Class Distress Signal Handler. 7 of the Chill Round Table. Newzone, 24. Of Celtic descent, he is a super being of culinary powers, but is also a behemoth with a very splendid samurai game. It's just a shame he doesn't believe in his own power all the way to be the ultimate version of himself. But everyone loves him cause he's always cool and always seen high-fiving snowmen. No one can top how cool he is or how he intuitively figures out how to make perfect nostalgia recipes. It could be the traveler in him. It could come from talking to so many chefs. It could come from Maybelline at this point, but one must know he is always close to an eatery. He was in a cafeteria during the time Crunch went to a superhero guild to interview 2 people. Crunch stopped by the cafeteria and sat purposely by Newzone cause he likes new people. Pleasantries were exchanged, but so were hot eyes. The flirting always began instantly. It did. Then that became their norm. Due to their strong insomniac genes, they began to be the only people talking about shit in the cafeteria with marshmallowed out hot cocoa around the clock. Eventually, Newzone recognized his own ultimacy because of how Crunch talked to him over the years. Job title is Head of Food. Galactic Class Traveling Swordsman. 8th of the Chill Round Table. Uggi Uggi, 24. Of Moroccan descent, he's a super being of high intelligence and higher valor. Totally not using what his mind is best suited for but his body. Everybody loves him for his hard head tactics of never dying. Uggi Uggi loves to move around. Bankroll is so tight, if you weren't gay, you would try to be, cause no matter where he goes, money is made, then money is thrown. Then posses are formed and parties are booming until he's tired of their region. His urban legend of being a one-man army is nothing short of the truth, but even catching this handsome titan is mad rare. They know of each other, but was not expecting to cross paths in the Luigi dimension. Their business was different, but they were both on jobs when they crossed paths and wouldn't stop shouting while talking backwards until they couldn't hear each other anymore. Then ended up partying at the same venue that night after another successful mission. They were supposed to party, but they drunk in a booth that night, sang high and kept telling people they would come out and dance, but they only got up to drain their dragons, then pick up talking and boozing again. They were talking about all of the heroism they have accomplished so far in life. But somehow, they got to talking real hard about being in multiple places at once, in which they had the nads to go through with the cloning process. Drunk, in their feelings, loving the life they live eventually led to Uggi Uggi feeling a lead for the guide around the universe. Job title, Head of Travel. Galactic Class Astrophysicist, Archaeologist, and Biologist, but would rather be and is actually a Galactic Class one-man army superhero. 9th of the Chill Round Table. Sorseiga, 26. Of Luminarian, Yamari descent, she is a goddess. A high fortune goddess of a species of Edgemere, humanoid in shape, beautifully handsome demonic features over it. Hair bigger than lion's manes with blue tips following the white strands over white skin and magenta eyes that do not lie. Was running for her life because of an urban legend of a lie. Greed has caused this species to become endangered in Edgemere. The strong protect their kind, but there are those like Sorseiga who knows of how big the universe is and will not sit down. She must run, she must glide, she must fly, she must world trip and see it all until she is content. Does a great job at surviving when everyone believes that killing her will immortalize paradise for them. Who knows how telephone distorted their purpose, but if you want them to make you rich, just be kind. Instead, she was enchanted to lose a lot of her god abilities. What she felt in Crunch could save her life. She flew to him as a giant cloud of cerulean smoke that kept on puffing. Odin told Crunch whatever it is running for its life. When she emerged, she asked Crunch for his protection. He gave it to her while radioing to his smaller space shuttle version of his ship to prepare to go into orbit. Because he didn't have the means or resources to fight an entire warlock coven, he wasn't about to ask the mages on his crew to overextenuate to possibly entering a coven war by mistake. Ever since then, Sorseiga has vowed that she will protect Crunch's ship until he dies. That was after she found out what kind of ship he ran. She stays in a part of the ship no one can get to because of her wards. Once they enter the area, they immediately feel like they have forgotten something, then try to find whatever they lost, never to see their area of the gigantic ship again. Sorseiga is the secret to why Crunch's ship became the urban legend it surpassed. More fast, more protected, more of a paradise in the stars. Her job title is the secret weapon. She makes the spaceship 4.7 times better, and it deals with speed, defense, and offense. And she's the highest in echelon fortune goddess. 10th and 11th of the Chill Roundtable. Izeeka and Quea Zettef. 27 years old is when Crunch met them. Of Senegalese and Ethiopian descent, these two super beings are lovers. Been that way since they met in college, then traversed into superheroism. Both are considered titans on a battlefield end off. Izeeka is an emergency room and general surgeon that works with victims of the supernatural and regular folk. Will never turn a blind eye to anyone in pain. Quea Zettef is known for questing for rare magical artifacts and finding other super beings in outer space. Her sensory magic will make you feel lucky, but creating power out of nothing at all will make you famous. Even though the scholastic healer isn't a natural born one like her lover, Quea's powers are life versus death. These two have been making the world a better place. Disregarding them building a dream life of traveling every 3 years to a new location to practice heroism, it was time for their third move, but someone in a superhero guild thought it would be great to try to get them into Crunch's last positions. Him brainstorming this couldn't have been more perfect, but who wouldn't want two hot lesbians that serve destruction and miracles? Izeeka's job title is Head of Medicine. She's a galactic-class superhero, a one-woman army superhero, emergency and general surgeon. Quea Zettef is Head of Farming. She's a galactic-class superhero, archaeologist, and one-woman army of a search party. Number 12 of the Chill Roundtable. Angelus, 27 years old. Of African descent, she is a super being, a rather rare one. Hydro Angel Shark is a heaven of a superpower combination. It simply made Crunch's life heavenly. He has never shed light on who his co-captain will be. Ever. Not to anyone in the superhero guild, the warrior or villain, not even his sister or parents, but what he wanted was a water wielder with the ability to speed underwater like a bullet. Lastly, he wanted them to be invulnerable, to be their bullet and instantly bounce back. When Angelus showed him what he needed without even having to ask, he proposed a position to her. She was the last member of Elizabeth, to find a job after her successful girl group of superheroes, generally laying down the law and knuckle sandwiches until there was enough meat to make any super league want her. Keep in mind, Crunch just wanted those things, but he never called Angelus an angel because it's already in her code name. But to have a halo on the first generation of the Chill Voyager is a dream he never had until he saw her that day. It was going on a decade of Crunch not finding a co-captain. He felt like his life was complete. The party after that was bonkers to everyone's max. Her title is the co-captain of the Chill Voyager. She's a galactic-class superhero as the acting blue member of Elizabeth, and a one-woman army. Superhero. 13th of the Chill Roundtable. Crunch started this when he was 19. Of African, German descent, the super being finally felt like he was complete, and it was time to free the Chill Roundtable, so the worlds will know what will protect them. In the midst of the party of finding his co-captain, he let everyone know that there was another reason to celebrate. After quieting down everyone, he had the Chill Roundtable raised to the top ozone bubble deck. There sat a crystal table with 13 chairs of crystal, with smiling crystal skulls at the top of them. There was a crystal skull in the center of the table that can ascend to float and descend to appear flat. Sorseiga was the only one that didn't look normal and the only one that instantly appeared to a seat at the table when asked to. When everyone finally sat down, the 13 crystal skull chalices were brought out and filled with the most neon bright blue liquid you had ever seen. He toasted his round table to the beginning of the first generation of the Chill Voyagers. Once Sorseiga drank her liquid, she placed her chalice back on the table, waved to her comrades and everyone at the party, then vanished again. Everyone else continued to party into the night as a new League of Heroes were announced. At the end of that party, Newzone and Crunch were seen at the table, talking for what looked like hours, and it could have been, because Newzone could just whip them up a snack or whatever while they stayed looking into the stars and beginning to enjoy a very adventurous life. Very adventurous life. He's the captain of the Chill Voyager, a galactic-class one-man army hero, helper hero, and sanctuary hero. From then on, the Chill Voyager was considered an ark for humans that wanted the pirate life. It had citizens of all age groups, and the round table knows them all by heart, all 3,000 occupants, plus, from the crew that runs the ship to the civilians that fill it with life, they know them and protect them. Even set up death plans for the elderly when it's their time to go, but he hopes that the kids growing up here will help keep the Chill Voyager when the first generation is old and gone. He doesn't have to worry. The Chill Voyager became a lifestyle after that party. It was already famously known for saving millions of lives as well as traveling for millions of lives. The smallest spaceship has touched the oceans of every planet in the humanoid sphere, all of the dimensions, and even the oceans of Edgemere. That alone is inspiring kids to keep it adventurous, to live, to go on. It's a splendid sign from the heavens and hells every time it's seen. Yet, it still has room for people. That will be proven when the story begins and Crunch houses all of the heroes like Cameron houses all of the villains. There's enough vacant suites for all of his comrades spread across the stars during the story. The Chill Voyager will have so many weapons of mass destruction and creation in it that it's going to be a giant spinning green beacon on all radars. A super being's vessel gives off a very distinctive aura of power. No matter who you are, you will feel it. But Sorseiga is going to be doing something while the story takes place. She is going to be recording all of these heroes and what they do for the history books. Because the culture of the first generation will have a backstory so huge that the Chill Voyager must live on after Crunch. From the camaraderie, the laughter, the hugs, the tears, the strengths, and all of the exercising they will be doing. The imprint their auras will leave will end up being used by Sorseiga and will replace what she does for it. So, to explain it, Sorseiga's protection of the spaceship makes it 4.7 times better. What she's doing is duplicating all of the super being's energy during the epilogue, and that's going to become a catalyst to the protection of the Chill Voyager after she's gone. And that will be after Crunch dies of natural causes and shit like that. Or it's lost in space. But she will ensure it because she believed Crunch when he said, I want this ship to be a beacon of live your life, do what's right, and celebrate overcoming strife. You're a goddess. You know exactly what I mean, but this will be my life, protecting and partying. If I can prove there's 100 years worth of joy and might, 100 others can too. All it takes is for them to see this ship. Because by the time I'm 60, I want everyone to know it's real tasty out here. So go. Go on ventures, break bread with strangers, go on more ventures, break bread with more strangers. Just keep going until you can't go anymore. But don't hurt a single person when you go, because that's how you break 100 years of joy and might. Sorseiga would have loved to be born in a world without pain, would love to be pain-free. She knows he's very well capable of protecting his own way of life, but she wanted to make sure he could. She knows what Crunch is trying to do with this ship, so she helps by making it a faster process, via making his ship so fucking fast he doesn't need a portal welder in his superpower chamber. Collecting the joy and might from his many comrades during the story will imprint a permanent magical glyph inside of it to take her place when Crunch finally dies. All in all, the Chill Voyager is half the size of battle and warships, but is exactly as powerful as them. With the ability of moving as fast as a size 1 spaceship, would you consider living out your life on the Chill Voyager? The ice blue spaceship that looks like a pirate ship, with glittery sails that sparkle with every beam of light and even sparkles in utter darkness? Included in this deal is an ozone deck where a sky can be imitated for tanning in outer space. You sure you don't want to live here? When this ship can go to every single planet of humanity within a week? Do you know how many worlds you could see living like this? How much food you could never experience twice again. How much life could be lived on this ship. How much life this ship will create. How much paradise there is to experience. Find out more later. Mwah.